This is Lannis Smith with the Leslie Science and Nature Center and the Ann Arbor Hands-On Museum. If you've ever had the chance to visit the Leslie Science and Nature Center, you may have seen live birds of prey, or raptors, that are housed on the site. But have you ever stopped to wonder what makes a raptor to begin with, or why they're ecologically important? Maybe you're curious about the different kinds of raptors you could find in your neighborhood. So today's video is all about the world of birds of prey, or raptors, specifically those that we find right here in Michigan. We'll take a look at some of the easy ways to identify them, where we might find them out in the wild, and how they're ecologically beneficial, both to other animals or even to us humans. Raptors, or birds of prey, are typically larger birds that are known for their hunting and soaring techniques. They're considered apex or top predators in food chains, and we find a variety of species here in Michigan. Just like other animal groups, there are key characteristics or physical features we as scientists can use to best identify or tell birds of prey apart from other bird species. The word raptor means to grab or to seize something, and that leads into one of the main physical characteristics we use to identify raptors. Their talons, or these four large, sharp, curved toenails we find on their feet. Talons are sharp and are often a raptor's primary hunting device. A raptor can easily grab onto its prey using their talons like hooks, and the sharp tip allows them to cut up their food into smaller bits. Raptors also have an incredible grip, sometimes having the grip strength that is 10 times stronger than a human. This allows raptors to crush their prey or hold onto larger, stronger food as they hunt. Raptors also have a sharp, curved beak. Like their talons, their sharp beak is a key adaptation for a meat-eating predator. Birds have beaks in different shapes and sizes depending on what or how they eat. A raptor uses its beak and talons like a knife and fork combo, holding on and cutting up food into smaller bits to make it easier to swallow. Some raptors kill their prey using their beak rather than their talons, and may have teeth-like notches to help. Otherwise, birds don't have any teeth, so they rely on their beak to break or rip their food to be small enough to eat. Some raptor types we find here in Michigan include hawks, falcons, owls, vultures, eagles, or ospreys. But there's a wide variety that we can find around the world. Let's go ahead and meet a common raptor up close to see if we can better see those physical characteristics or other adaptations we notice to help this animal survive in the wild. The raptor we'll meet today is a red-tailed hawk, a very common raptor we find here in Michigan. In fact, it's probably our most common. We also often see red-tailed hawks by our neighborhoods or human habitats, mostly because they've learned they can find a lot of the resources they need to survive, even by our human areas. Red-tailed hawks are known for this chestnut or reddish-colored tint along their tail when they're adults, and oftentimes you can find them soaring by our highways, buildings, other roads, or even in our own backyard. Right away you can already see those two main features just because they're so big. You can see those sharp talons or toenails that she has on her feet. You also can notice that she has an incredibly sharp, curved beak, amazing hunter-esque adaptations needed in order to stay as a top predator. Hawks also have really keen eyesight. Many times people think they look grumpy. Really what you're noticing though is an extra bone that sits over their eye and kind of acts like a hat. It shades their eye from the sun so that way they're able to fly and hunt during the day. This is why we call animals like hawks and eagles diurnal. That means that they're most awake or most active during the day. Hawks are also known to have these really large, broad wings and very long wingspans, up to 4 feet, which is huge for their size. That way they're able to carry themselves in the air and soar for hours on end, riding these really hot air currents we call thermals. Eagles and vultures do this too. They can combine that adaptation with their keen eyesight in order to be able to effectively look for food during the day without having to use up a lot of energy by flapping their wings. Most birds that fly also don't weigh that much. This hawk weighs maybe about 2 pounds. The lighter you are, the easier it is for you to carry yourself as you fly. This makes them incredibly effective soarers, especially for hawks that need to migrate and sometimes travel thousands of miles. Saving energy is a key feature you will need to survive.
While red-tailed hawks may vary slightly in coloration, particularly with their belly feathers, you often can tell male and female red-tailed hawks apart by their size. Female red-tailed hawks are significantly larger than the males, mostly because they are the ones that carry the eggs. They just need more body. They're also often the ones that stay back and protect the nest.
Some of you might notice that this bird looks like she has an injury or that her eyes are different. All of the birds at the Leslie Science and Nature Center have some kind of injury to where they're unable to be released into the wild. This bird is not my pet. She unfortunately only has one eye. Her left eye had to be surgically removed. This means that she's just not able to effectively search for her food during the day because she only has half her eyesight. Her depth perception is also off and may be hard for her to balance in flight. While she's still fully flighted, her inability to fully see what she needs to see in order to survive is why she's here with us as a teacher. That way, though, we can take a closer look at these key physical features, those ginormous feet, a great grip strength, large talons, and a sharp curved beak, all encompassing to make her a prime raptor and an amazing top predator.
Falcons are another really unique diurnal predator. However, they don't soar like, say, a hawk or an eagle does. They're more well known for their speed. They have these really sharp cut wings. It almost looks like they have a sharp tipped edge with their flight feathers that allows them to dive into the air or hover at incredible speeds. This guy is a Peregrine Falcon. They're the fastest animal on land in the world, even faster than a cheetah. This falcon can dive in the air over 240 miles an hour. That's incredible! And that's because they're actually hunting for faster food, usually other birds. We often find falcons in a lot of urban areas like big cities because they also lay their nest on platforms or cliffs. You can see this falcon lying down right now. That's how they rest, is on these flat surfaces. People have even found them in their flower boxes before, in apartment complexes on the top floor. Now, falcons can be identified from a hawk by a couple things, but the main one is usually how they protect their eyes from the sun. Peregrine falcons, for example, have a very dark face. They don't have the extra bone over their eye to shade their eye from the sun. Rather, those dark splotches, or sometimes stripes you'll see under their eyes, are known as malar stripes. Cheetahs have them too. Now, those malar stripes help absorb the sun's glare or the light that comes down towards their eyes, making it easier for them to see when there's not a cloud in the sky. Oftentimes, athletes will do the same thing if they have a game during the day, where they'll paint black stripes on their cheekbones so that the sun's glare hits and gets absorbed by the black color first, before shooting up into their eyes. Owls are another main type of raptor, although we don't see them as often because of their nocturnal lifestyle. They also possess very different adaptations to help them effectively hunt in the dark. For example, owls are known for having incredibly large eyes, almost covering half of their face. In fact, an owl's eyes are so large they're actually stuck inside their head in the shape of tubes. Owls also don't possess the bone that sits over their eyes to shade or protect their eye from the sun, mostly because they rely on their large eyes to take in little amounts of light from the moon and the stars to be able to see their food, rather than relying on sunlight. Owls also tend to have a round, flat-shaped head, almost like a disc or a bowl. This allows them to be able to hear better, bringing sound closer to their ears to listen for tiny sounds happening at night. Some owls will also have these large feather tufts that almost look like ears, but rather those extra feathers are there for camouflage, being able for them to still be awake or active during the day if need be, but be so sneaky or hidden, thanks to their feather pattern and coloration, that there's no way even predators like us can see them when they're out and about. Owls are also able to turn their heads in some very funky directions. Owls, since their eyes are stuck, can turn their heads up to 270 degrees in order to see. In fact, they can even turn their heads upside down and backwards in order to get a better look at the surroundings around them.
Some of the best ways to identify raptors, particularly ones that are awake during the day, is by looking for their silhouette or shape in the sky. Oftentimes when we're looking for raptors, we're looking for when they're most active, and it's a lot easier to find them when they're in the air versus when they're in their nest or camouflaging in a tree. So let's take a look at 4 different silhouettes and see how we can tell the differences to best identify each raptor. The 4 silhouettes we have here are the shape of a bald eagle, a turkey vulture, a red-tailed hawk, and a peregrine falcon. You'll notice right away that the wing shapes, overall size, and how their feathers are shaped or patterned along their wings are all different. Bald eagles have an incredibly long wingspan, over 6 feet long. They sit there and glide easily through the air, barely flapping their wings as they need to. A turkey vulture, on the other hand, also has a large wingspan, but you'll notice that their edge feathers, or some of their flight feathers, open up like fingertips. Turkey vultures also make the letter V with their wings and teeter-totter back and forth as they're balancing in the air. Hawks almost look like a smaller version of an eagle, still having those large, broad wings, but may not have a wingspan as long. Their tail length is also shorter than that of an eagle's. And a peregrine falcon has these very sharp or cut-like wings that look like they're in the shape of the letter M. That allows peregrine falcons to dive into the air over 200 miles an hour. They don't often soar like hawks or eagles do. They rely more on speed to catch their prey, rather than floating and searching for their prey.
Here at the Leslie Science and Nature Center, we house a variety of Michigan native raptors that are all at the center due to a variety of injuries to where they cannot be released into the wild. Some of the injuries are physical, like a broken wing, or only having one eye. Others may be neurological, like a closed head injury, to where they're simply forgetful. With all of their injuries being permanent, and because these animals cannot be released into the wild, we do our best to transform them into teachers, or avian ambassadors, being able to teach folks like you not only how to best interact with these animals in their native habitats, but also their survival techniques or adaptations that make them key predators around the world. Raptor populations in Michigan are actually doing pretty well. But that doesn't mean there aren't challenges that they face while they're out in the wild. The biggest challenge or issue that they face is just the loss of habitat. We end up developing on a lot of the lands that are key habitats for many of these species or their prey. And oftentimes that means these predators have to either adapt to our kinds of habitats or leave. A really good example are barn owls. Barn owls are considered extirpated in Michigan just because the habitat that they prefer isn't around anymore. They loved old, open farmlands with abandoned barns and an open area for them to hunt for rodents. We just don't have as much farmland anymore or older abandoned buildings. And we haven't seen a breeding pair here in Michigan for almost 30 years. Other challenges that they face can be due to toxins that are in the environment that can affect their prey. For example, if a rodent has poison or toxin inside its body, it's biomagnified when it's eaten by a predator. This can cause them to get sick as well. Or sometimes there are other injuries that occur, such as frostbite, or unfortunately being hit by a car or running into something like a glass window. All of these are challenges that all birds and many other creatures face too. So then the question arises of what can we humans do to help?
One of the best ways to help animals, including raptors, in the wild is learning how to conserve or protect their native habitats. If they have a space that has all the key resources they need to survive, then you know that species has a better chance of survival as well. Also, you can make sure certain pollutants don't get into your waterways, streams, or soils. Things like fertilizer or toxins that may be used outside can sometimes get ingested by the prey that raptors eat. By making sure that those don't get into other parts of habitats or ecosystems, you can ensure that there is enough safe prey for certain predators like raptors to hunt. The final thing that you can do is to make sure to visit areas that either learn, teach, or have raptors on their site for you to discover. Places like the Leslie Science and Nature Center or other parks that have great areas for you to observe wild raptors are great areas for you to discover more, to answer your questions, or to meet experts to have a better understanding of how we can learn more and better protect these species. Thank you so much for exploring the world of birds of prey and raptors with us today. We hope that not only you learned something, but that you had a fun time doing it too. Make sure to see if you can find some other common raptors that might live by your natural area, whether by going on a hike outdoors or by learning more about raptors right at home. Keep exploring, scientists, and have a great rest of your day.